name is Frank Beker. I'm the manager of marketing and sales of Inmate and Xmate. And Inmate is a formula like McDonald's, where all the prison production companies have reunited in since 2010. And Xmate is our method of forming reintegration for the inmates that are working with Inmate. So, and I'm normally based. I work at the headquarters in The Hague. There we have a small staff team with specialists, and we support our production companies, our prisons, in doing the things they want to do with labor prison.
Great, thank you. Just a first general question then, from your personal and professional experience, which is very into this topic. Could you please comment for us on how important education is for the future integration of prisoners?
Well, to put it simply, it's crucial. But first, I'll tell you something about how our model in Holland has started. In 2010, the Dutch government wanted to quit working in prisons because it was very expensive and the results were very poor. The financial results, but also the reintegration results were very poor. So we formed a group of people who wanted to improve the prison labor. But at first we built a normal production company. So our principles were that of a normal production and service company, because prison labor, in our opinion, should be the same as working outside the prison. This ambition became a law in 2015. So that's not only ambition but also a political wish. And we improved during 3-4 years. We improved our prison labor very much. And then we discovered that those production companies were excellent reintegration places, because they compared production work outside the prison. But then we had a second problem. That was the short term of the sentences in Holland. Our average inmate stays 3 months. So, and the most vocational trainings on the primary and secondary level are 2 or 3 years. So we went to Germany. We had a lot of European contacts to see how the other countries are doing that. In Germany, they have also vocational training, but it lasts 2 or 3 years. So on average, that wasn't something we could use. So what we did is we chopped the vocational training in pieces. So 10 or 12 pieces. And people who stay short with us can also can do a part of a training. So when they come out of the prison, they have not only the working experience but also have a certificate that proves that they have those qualifications. And why is that so important? Because companies ask for qualifications, but they also ask for competence. It's like the management. We talked a lot of managing directors of companies, small companies, big companies, and I remember that a director of a very well-known metal company, Heras Hekwerk, he told me it's great that those guys have a welding diploma, but I need them to be in time, I need them to have muscles, and I need them to work in 5 or 6 stations. And that's something we can learn during the working process. So yes, it's crucial that they have certificates, but also to have the working experience to go with it.
Thank you. This is very, very interesting. And to be honest, from all the interviews that we have managed to gather already from the Greek experience, the Cyprus experience, and the Italian experience, the experience from the Netherlands, from what I have seen from your brief as well, is the one that is most focused on technical skills and on hands-on experience to the job. Which is an amazing aspect that is not being covered by other correctional systems in other countries. So since you have that experience, if you can just elaborate a bit more on your experience on the types of work that could be offered, because this is also a good example that could be used by other countries.
Oh.
So the types of work and sorry, just to finish up, the types of work and their prospects as regards employability afterwards.
Well, and generally, it doesn't matter which types of work you have, because in basic we train general working skills. Be in time, be nice to a colleague, be polite to your chief, do your job. You can work with norms, with quality systems. So if you are a packaging employee, or do very, let's say, simple work, but also as a welder or as a baker, you have all those general labor skills. So whether you stay 3 months or 6 years, we train the general labor skills. And if people stay a little bit longer, then we can give them the extra focus on the technical skills, because that takes generally more time. But for our work, we look at at several websites. We have in Holland, we have I don't know in other countries, the UWV. It's the government company that regulates social benefits. And they also have a labor market monitor. So they say in that region, this types of work is a lot of asked for. So if we train somebody in the inside, let's say in metalwork, we make sure that when this man or woman gets out, there is also a sufficient work. So hairdressers we don't train, because there isn't the demand on the labor market for hairdressers. But for welders, there is something. And sometimes you see that inmates have a certain they want to be hairdresser. But we say, sorry, but there isn't a demand on the labor market. So we very much look at the labor market, and also our customers are very important information sources for us. So we look how things change, and therefore we have stated certain chance markets, as we call them. One of them is, for example, the back office of web shops. A lot of people buy things on the internet, but more than 30% gets sent back, and the most companies haven't really managed the return goods. So we get the goods, and we look if they are okay, etc., etc. So we can offer some service, and the inmates learn a lot about those logistic processes. Another chance market for us is recycling, because we all are going to be more green in the future, but a lot of components have to be dismantled. So we dismantle a lot of stuff, and the inmate learn a lot about the materials, but they also learn to work in a pace. When we look at electronica, a lot of people want solar panels on their roof, but in Holland it's very hard to find somebody who can put them on the roof. So we have in prison now, we are working with several companies that we assemble those solar panels, but we also learn them to put them on a roof.
That's very interesting. So if I understand correctly, that you have both ends. On the one, you have the training that you provide to the inmates, which is also like social soft skills, etc. And at the other end, we have the enterprises. So you're working on both aspects. And in this regard, because one of the main things that we're, as challenges, one of the main challenges that we are listening to in other countries is that companies do not want to hire ex-convicts because there's this stigma, there's this prejudice. So
Yes.
if you could just comment also a bit on that, how did you handle with that?
Well, first, if you look at our social media channels and our websites, it's very much focused on the inmate / ex-mate as a normal worker. So in 2010, the whole work in prison had a very bad image. So you have to work on the image of the production company, and with that, you also improve the image of the man or woman who works there. That's the inmate. So we say we have a very good company inside the prison, and the people who work there are good people to work for you after their detention. So that's a link in all our social media and also websites, and also our Inmate 360 site gives them an insight, because that's a second thing is people think they know what happens in a prison because they are looking at Breaking Bad on Netflix, but that's not the real that's not the real prison, but they think it is. So we give them an inside look. For example, with videos on social media, with stories, but also our Inmate 360 site. You can look at that, and you can look virtually inside every prison in Holland, and also see what inmates do and what products we're making. Then what we also do is our certificates and our diplomas. That's very important, very crucial. It's not Frank Beker who gives it to them, but a real school, a real vocational school. We hire them, and they give the certificate. So when people have learned something and have built their experience, how you say that, a teacher from that school comes to our prison and says, okay, now you go do the exam. So we don't take the exams, they take the exams. So we call it in Holland branche erkend. So the branches recognize those certificates. So there isn't a difference if somebody took the training on a regular school or on the inmate practice school. There isn't a difference in terms of the certificate. And the third, well, you have to also be a bit lucky. I give a lot of information evenings for companies, and they always ask, well, what have they done? And I say, ask them yourself. So we have information evenings in prisons. We show future employers our production sites there, and inmates who want can work then in the evening, because normally we don't work in the evening, so they can show their skills directly to future employers. And what then happens is there is a conversation between our visitors and our inmates, and they exchange cards, and so that's what happens. We show them what's really going on. If you make the inmate less abstract and give it a face, give it a name, give it a conversation, okay, show me what you can, and they see what our people can, then they are enthusiastic. I see every time I do this, I see a big change if people come to the prison in front. They say, well, the sentences have to be longer, and this and that and all that. And when they leave, they all are very enthusiastic, and they say, well, you people really know something. This is my card. Call me, please, when he gets out. So you have to invest. And another component is you have to be lucky. The labor market has been very narrow during several years. In 2014-15, then in Holland, the economy started booming till last year, of course, with the corona. I've been to evenings with employers, and a big employer told me, I don't care which diploma he has, he only has to breathe. So it's a bit, and now our labor market is becoming a bit wider, but for technically skilled peoples like electro people or welders or carpenters, there's still a lot of work. If you are really well trained and you know your skills, you get a job immediately.
Great. So I just have one last question to ask you, because this is all very innovative and give us a very broad overview of all the aspects, which is also the accreditation part that is crucial, and also the link with society, etc. So if I may, just one last question, if you comment a bit on the challenges and the difficulties, also including the Corona situation. I know that this year has been very difficult and challenging for all these kind of projects. So just if you could give us a couple of inputs there.
Well, Corona, well, we saw that our production slightly went down, but in generally we kept our working places open. Well, in March at first there was a shock, of course, but later the inmates, there was nothing else to do, so they really wanted to come to work. So our loss of productivity and diplomas is relatively small, because we tackled the Corona in a certain way. I will spare you this, but we haven't a lot of contaminations, luckily, because of the system. Yeah, well, the big tip, I get those questions also from other countries, also from Switzerland. You have to take the time, but first thing first, you have first build a good production company, because that's your basic. That's also a financial basis to pay for the education, because our surplus gets into the education. We don't make profit, but what we earn above our costs, we put into our program, the inmate practice school, so it comes directly back to the inmates. But first you have to build an environment and an atmosphere and a culture in which working is normal. It's not normal to stay in your bed. It's not normal to be woken. No, you have to. In my life, in the morning, the alarm is going. I get up, I go eat, I go to work. That's a normal day. In our prisons, that wasn't a normal day. So that's also a mindset, and a mindset costs also several years. But you have to have certain prisons that are in advance. So you have to cherish them, you have to encourage them, because every prison, also in Holland, also in Switzerland, also in Germany, every prison says, we are very special. We are not like them, we are very special. But they aren't special, because an inmate in Amsterdam is the same inmate as in Athens. There isn't a difference. What's different is our culture, maybe, and the culture also regionally. But and we, the people from the prison, we are different, but they are indifferent. So you have to have certain prisons that go with you to take the first steps, because when they are successful, you can tell the others, look at them, it's the same prison. And you have discussions, etc., etc. And you also have the higher level, the director of all prisons, let's say. And you have to also the politicians. They have to support you. So we had several governors and several ministers that were very favorable of our what we call normalization. A day in a prison shouldn't be different as a day in the outside. A sentence shouldn't be lying on your bed. A sentence should consist of working, of learning. And in the evening, you can lie on your back and watch TV. That's what I do. But during the day, it should be working and learning.